When 22-year-old Emeka Nelson first sent us a video of his inventions, a hydropower generator and the Mbawe C12, it struck a lot of attention considering the enormous potential in them, especially at this time when renewable energy and environmental friendliness are in demand. We followed up on that story to see for ourselves. However, getting to Oka from Enugu was another kettle of fish as the roads are becoming impossible. A nightmare experience for motorists. We also sought the attention of the Anambra State Governor on both issues since we thought they were within his domain. Also on the program is the reality of residents of Igbobi Sabe in Jibowu, Lagos. Loosely hanging cables everywhere, and this is becoming an issue not to be toiled with. Welcome to Eyewitness Report. I'm Chris Elems. Let's begin from the world of Emeka Nelson, once a thrash collector who may have found a way to deal with non-degradable waste such as plastics and polythene. Raw passion and talent on display. Come with me to Amobia, Oka in Anambra State. Lagos, for instance, generates about 13,000 metric tons of waste daily. Canals are clogged with non-degradable materials such as plastics and nylons, constituting great dangers to the environment. The search for solutions to these challenges may have driven 22-year-old Emeka Nelson, who once scavenged dump sites in Anambra, to invent a machine that could turn these waste into oil that could be broken down further for domestic and commercial users.
This is the portable hydroelectric generator.
He is also working on a hydropower generator, which when successfully scaled up would eliminate effect of bad fumes on our environment as well as dependency on fuel. An ugly generator fume accident, which led to the death of his friend some years back, pushed him towards this direction.
This one was actually completed while I was still in SS3.
In SS3?
Yeah, that was about 3 years. Almost, this took me almost 7 plus something years
to do this,
to get this one actually. But my happiness now is that although it's crude, but it still gives me joy because I think I'm going to surprise people in a few years' time because the real one is actually coming out.
Most of the materials used for building the machine, he claimed, is sourced from scavenging.
Someone did call me a pig because he saw me picking something, so that was like, "How Nelson, when will you stop doing this kind of thing? Follow the big guys out there. There's big guys here. All this is something you spend most of the time. What will go doing all this? We are now big while the old school."
Emeka takes time out to put to test his inventions, starting with the generator.
You know, when the machine starts running, you'll be hearing the humans.
He begins by filling up the tank with about 4 liters of water.
So just like our normal generator said, where you use diesel and petrol kerosene to power them, this is now the petrol kerosene diesel of this particular machine here.
And then follows it up with the connection of the wires.
I need this to kick it off. Okay. It's now connected. Let me power the machine on. And see it's simple as that. Then I put this on. Yeah, it's just the output. It's my new. This is the kind of I just did on experimental point. It's working. Okay, that's it. I can equal it.
To prove the battery is not the source of the power, it takes it off the machine.
The stand already changed. The machine is working with the lightning. So it's not magic.
Currently, this generator can produce up to 660 watts of electricity, and Emeka hopes to scale it up further to a more reasonable amount.
The real one is actually coming out.
So you're still working?
Yeah, I'm still working to put it into something that can even get up to 5 kVA, 10 kVA.
Done with the generator, Emeka takes us to his next invention, the Mbawe C12, which means a transformer in the local language, Igbo.
This is one of my works again. I did this one. This one was actually completed early last year.
He claims the Mbawe C12 is a machine that converts non-biodegradable waste like plastic, waterproof, nylon, and more into a crude-like refinable oil that could split further into petrol, kerosene, diesel, some other heavy oils, and paraffin. A residual waste accumulated in the whole process are used to produce best form of interlocking stones. He also carries out a demonstration of the process.
Now, the first stage, what you actually need to do on this machine is feed all the waste you need into this. This is a reactor. This actually, that's what I call it, the reactor. This is where every separation takes place. Now, when you fed it, you must have fed it here, you close it. Then here, it's set on this one. And here we'll have the oven. This, yes, is oven. Okay. But this type of oven, although we use charcoal here, but the reason was that during the time I was kind of building the machine, our major issue then was a kind of electricity. Here is another thing here. We have another, this gadget here. What this one actually does, because it's not only the hot vapor that accompanies it. I was able to discover that something like methane, ethane, okay, and all those are flammable gas. So, and all those, if you leave flammable gas in such kind of that environment of very hot temperature, it might be a kind of, it can be disastrous. Now, because I don't really have room to separate those gases and collect it, now I have this thing called off gas. What this actually does is just to trap those gases. When it traps it, it converts it to carbon and water. That water, yes, this one. When it converts it to, when the water then goes through this pipe, comes into this lake. The water that's normally pumped into this lake, here is okay, a water regulation chamber. Now the water is then back used by the machine. While the carbon is resident, from time interval, you open this one, scrape off the carbons there.
After about 13 minutes, the oil collects over the water.
As you can see, this is a pure example of the oil we are talking about. Yeah, started working, and this is the liquid actually extracted from the waste we just fed into. Although it's still in process, we still come up more, but this, as you can see now, enough quantity already emanates from the stream.
This he then gathers into a container.
You can see the level. All of them are now the same, but this is actually what we have.
And to prove its flammable property, Emeka strikes a match.
Assuming I had to subject it to further separation, maybe I had to, so I wanted to become highly flammable. But because it's still a complex mixture, it just burns gradually like this.
Emeka, who attended primary school in the neighborhood, has always been self-motivated and always eager to solve problems in spite of his poor background. So says the headmistress of the school he attended.
He is motivated from within. It's not like somebody is telling him to do all this, but the way he sees himself very far away from where we can comprehend. So what he needs now is support. You understand? If the government can come out and support this boy, I think he has more to offer than this.
Stories of great minds like Emeka Nelson abound in our country. Unfortunately, they all go the same way. Used by politicians to score cheap points, after which they are discarded. Emeka has got a bit of such experience.
At times you find yourself, you get frustrated, it's real. Because by the time you walk, you put in even the little you have into it, at the end of the day, you'll be disappointed you didn't get actually what you wanted to get.
He has a dream and he's not giving up on it.
You can imagine a society whereby we no longer depend on oil even to power our homes. You can imagine a society whereby you go to the market, buy a generator set, all you need to power it is water. You can imagine tomorrow whereby even in our immediate environment, whereby even the empty water sachet will have, all of them become a kind of source of revenue, whereby people, you see people, instead of scavenging metals, people will now start scavenging all these plastics, all these waste, because I can really tell you that 35% of the waste we have today in Nigeria is made up of this. You can imagine when we tend to turn them into wealth.
His known friends today who also have contributed to his tertiary education are the artisans and the so-called little people who believe there might be light for him at the end of the tunnel. As for the government that should key into this dream to make it come true, the waiting game may continue a little longer, judging by the way similar exploits have been treated in the past.